1 million people. I mean, look how many people the American wars have killed in Afghanistan and Iraq. Okay, so you've got these medieval barbaric idiots chopping off a few heads, but look at how many people have been killed by all this technology. And this is the point. They're both barbaric. One's just sanitized. It's just sanitized. You know, you drop a bomb from 30,000 feet, it's a lot easier than having to chop off somebody's head. But, right? What's the result? إن لم تمت بسيف مت بغيره تنوعت الأسباب والموت واحد. If you don't die by the sword, you die by some other reason. There's a lot of ways to die, but death is one. So whether you drop a bomb from 30,000 feet or chop off the head, they're both barbaric. Sorry. It's just on YouTube, it looks a hell of a lot more barbaric when you're chopping off the head than it does some guy in a cockpit that's just pushing a button. But the results of the guy in the cockpit pushing the button are far more devastating for human beings than that idiot that just chopped off somebody's head on YouTube. You know, so let's be realistic about this. In the 20th century alone, estimates of people killed through war, genocide. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in the 20th century alone, estimates of people killed through war, genocide, and liquidation run from a low of 80 million to a high of 300 million people. 300 million people. In World War II, everybody talks about the Holocaust. Nobody talks about the Russian Holocaust. Nobody talks about the Russian, because they were communists. So it wasn't this nice little propaganda piece to put out there. 20 million Russians were massacred, slaughtered by the Nazis. 20 million. Can you imagine that? And the Russians won World War II. It wasn't the Americans. All the films showed the Americans winning the war. Just look at the divisions of the Nazis that were on the Eastern Front. Multiple times more than the divisions on the Western Front. If the Nazis never invaded Russia, we'd probably be speaking German right now. Seriously, the Russians won World War II. And then the myth of religious violence. Like, well, what is that? This myth of religious violence. Muslims, this is the most violent religious period in the history of Islam, probably. If you look at the historian who did the body count study, which is online, proved that the single most violent civilization in human history is the secular humanistic civilization. It's killed more people than any other civilization. The second is Christianity. Just by looking at historical numbers. Out of the 7 civilizations studied, Islam was the 6th, number 6. The only less violent civilization than the Muslim civilization was the Hindu civilization. Amazing. In many ways surpassed modern multiculturalism because they allowed minority communities to be completely independent. They had their own court systems. They could judge the people themselves. The Jews had their own court systems in Ottoman countries. In Iraq, they had 3 vilayats. 3. They had the Shia, the Sunni, and the Kurdish vilayats. They didn't force them all to live together. They let them live in their own environment, just like they're asking now for independence. Each one wants to live on its own. The Ottomans, that was their administration. Let the Turks control their own territory. Let the Kurds control their own territory. Let the Shia control their own territory. And let the Sunnis control. Just pay us tax and we'll take care of you. Huh? Unfortunately, we have a mafioso, I'll make you a deal you can't refuse. I mean, they talk about Muslims want everybody to pay jizya. What's the Muslim world paying to American corporations if it's not jizya? It's all protection money. Seriously, look at the amount of money that Muslims are paying for weapons from the United States. And why are they buying those weapons? What, to fight Israel? They can't, because the F-16s that they buy don't work against Israeli jets. they're always one step behind. They'll never give you the technology that they've got. They give you the last, it's like buying a used computer. It's having okay, give the Saudis the 286. We've got the Pentium. Remember 286? You guys are too young. So no one stays on top forever. This medieval myth may well provide a more accurate understanding about the human condition than the myth of progress. Of course, neither story is scientific in any rigorous sense. However, since as one with a wide exposure to all humankind's stories, not just the modern ones, one need not accept all of Lewis's neo-romantic notions to entertain the possibility that Western culture buried some of its gems along with its crimes in the past. At the very least, in order to face the adage of Santayana, those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it head on. There is no harm in digging them up and seeing if they still shine. Okay, so that's very important. So I want to show you now the Wheel of Fortune in the Quran. And there are many verses that indicate the nature of this wheel. But I think the most striking, and this came to me in this Ramadan, reading this verse, which is Surah Yunus, in verse 21. وَإِذَا أَذَقْنَا النَّاسَ رَحْمَةً مِّن بَعْدِ ضَرَّاءَ مَسَّتْهُمْ. And if we cause people to taste mercy after harm had afflicted them, and Allah attributes the rahmah to himself, but the darra is massathu, darra. إِذَا لَهُمْ مَكْرٌ فِي آيَاتِنَا. And then you see them with their makr, which is their craftiness concerning our sign. We're showing them signs, and yet they're reinterpreting them for their own advantage. So we showed them how, okay, America, you're on top now, but it used to be Britain, remember that? And remember when France was on top, remember? And Britain wasn't on top. Remember when Portugal was on top? Now look at Portugal. Right? Remember Henry the Navigator? They used to rule the world. Spain, remember when they were on top? In other words, don't you see the wheel? But why are you convinced your mekar in our signs is to tell yourselves, we'll always be on top? And the thing about knowing that one day you're going to be on the bottom, you're going to be treating people a little nicer because maybe they'll be nice to you when they get to the top. You see, all these Arabs that treat Pakistanis and Indians like crap, right? Maybe one day India is going to be the dominant power in the world, and suddenly your sons are going to India to get jobs in their houses to serve them. Yeah. Maybe they're going to remember those stories their grandma told them about being a servant in your house. Right? What goes around comes around. قُلِ اللَّهُ أَسْرَعُ مَكْرًا. You plot, you've got your little crafty cleverness. Well, we've got our plan too. Right? إِنَّ رُسُلَنَا يَكْتُبُونَ مَا تَمْكُرُونَ. Our messengers, our angels are writing it all down. What you're doing while you're on top, they're writing it all down. هُوَ الَّذِي يُسَيِّرُكُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. He's the one that circulates you on the land and in the sea. تِلْكَ الْأَيَامِ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. Dawla, the circle, نُدَاوِلُهَا. We cause it. One day you've got it, the next day you don't. نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ نُسَيِّرُكُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. We circulate you in the land and on the sea. We give you power. اللهم مالك الملك تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء. We give power to whom we please, and we take power away from whom we please. We exalt whom we please. We put you on the top, and we abase whom we please. We put you on the bottom. Now look, here's the metaphor, and this is a perfect wheel of fortune. حتى إذا كنتم في الفلك وجرينا بهم بريح. You were on a ship. Now this is a metaphor. right? This is an analogy. You were on a ship. Jara means to circulate, to go around also. And Jarina, the ship, Jariya means ship also. It means a young woman, because she goes around serving in the house. A Jariya was a servant girl. She's tajri fil bayt. The Jariya is a ship that circulates. It goes out and comes back. You see, it goes out and comes back. And you don't know profit or loss. You never know. So, there you are on your ship. And the ship happens upon a nice wind. 12 o'clock. وَفَرِحُوا بِهَا. And they've got joy. جَاءَتْهَا رِيحٌ عَاصِفٌ. Suddenly a storm starts to appear. Right? So now you're happy, but there's a storm over there. Fear sets in. 3 o'clock. Then what happens? وَجَاءَهُمَ الْمَوْجُ مِنْ كُلِّ مَكَانٍ. Then the waves start coming from every direction. Now they're on the bottom, right? What happens? وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ أُحِيطَ بِهِمْ. And they think they're going to be destroyed. It's over. Despair, sorrow, grief. And then what happens? دَعُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. Then they call on God, hoping. Right? And what do they say? What do they say? لَإِنْ أَنْجَيْتَنَا. If you just save us min hadihi, from this, لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. You see, when they're here, they say, when I get into power, I'm going to rectify everything. That's what they say. This is in the traditional, this is the traditional schema of this. This guy says, he's the prince, hoping to ascend. And what he says, I'm going to get rid of the oppressors. I'm going to do all that, right? That's what he does. But then what happens when Allah does it? He gets, فَلَمَّا أَنْجَيْهُمْ إِذَا هُمْ يَبْغُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And then we put them in power, and what do? They start to oppress. Now they're on regno, right? They start to oppress. And then what happens? بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ. They don't have any right to do it, but they still do it. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنَّمَا بَغْيُكُمْ عَلَى أَنفُسِكُمْ. Oh, humanity, your oppression is against yourselves. The Israelis aren't oppressing the Palestinians. They're oppressing themselves. They're oppressing themselves. متاع الحياة الدنيا. This is the mata' of حياة الدنيا. متاع قليل. Little bit, and then you lose it. لا يغرنك بالله الغرور. Don't get deluded by this circle. When you're on the top, don't get deluded. ثم إلينا مرجعكم فننبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. You're going to return to us, and we're going to explain all of this to you. So just be patient. تربصوا إني معكم من المتربصين. Let's wait. Allah says He's going to explain the whole thing. He's going to tell you why He put the Jews in power. He's going to tell you why they did what they did. He's going to punish the wrongdoers. He's going to rectify the people that were oppressed. He's going to heal the sick. He's going to punish the wrong. That's our promise. إنما مثل الحياة الدنيا كماء. The likeness of this world is like water, right? So the water comes down. أنزلناه من السماء فاختلط به نبات الأرض. It mixes with the nabat of the earth, right? مما يأكل الناس والأنعام. So people eat it, and the an'am eat it, the good and the evil, because بل إنهم كالأنعام. So everybody benefits in the dunya, the good people, the bad people, bil ishara. I mean, it means literally the cows and the livestock, but also the bad humans are called an'am in the Quran. So everybody benefits from it, the good and the evil. حتى إذا أخذت الأرض زخرفها. But then the earth takes